go, baby. Cut the Nets is back.
What?
4-week hiatus. I'm ready to go.
What? I'm so
Jeremy, did you get
confused.
knocked out from COVID, dude? Is there like a tornado in
I'm
in
so
uh
con.
in Houston? We
Wait. How do you know my name?
dog. I've been working with you for over a year. We have a podcast together called Cut the Nets.
Cut the Nets. Why does that sound so familiar?
Maybe because we co-host that podcast together. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Thanks for
Talk
thanks
basketball.
for the shameless plug, but man, what? We like
You have a running joke where you talk about your love for Rachel Nichols every week. I showed appreciation towards Jalen Brunson.
this is
Yeah.
barely ringing a bell, but like these headphones feel like they fit. This microphone feels familiar. I feel like I'm in the right place, but at the same time, I'm in the wrong place too. I guess we're starting. I guess we're back.
Yeah, I mean it's been 4 weeks too long. I'm ready to go. But if you need a
Dude,
mental health day,
I think I might. I mean, I think I've been taking more than 4 weeks off. It feels like I've taken like a whole year off. All right, well then let's get started. This is
all right, let's do it.
Cut the Nets. I guess we're back. Wow, this is awesome. We're doing Cut the Nets. Guys, we're doing Cut the Nets. We're doing Cut the Nets. We're recording an episode. This is... Oh, wow, get excited. I'm excited. This is amazing. Oh my god. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Right now. Okay.
All right, that was way better than I thought it was gonna be.
just pure absurdism. Oh man. Okay. All
Oh,
right.
that was way better than I thought. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little sus of the idea. Like I didn't think it was gonna work out, but that was awesome.
Yeah.
Always a great time at Cut the Nets, fellas.
Welcome, Brian. Welcome, Meyer, our producer, and also myself. We're back after, I would say, 3 or 4 week hiatus. This is Cut the Nets. We are back. But actually, you know what, Brian? I'm gonna ask you. What are your top 5 worst analysts, starting from the worst? Well, I guess the 5th worst, 4th worst, and so on. What are your top 5?
All right. So, 5th worst is Magic Johnson. I don't think he'll ever be a good analyst. I mean, he is not qualified, and he probably doesn't have the communication, public presentation skills because he's horrible at talking off the top of his head. It doesn't seem like he's prepared. He constantly stumbles over his words with those verbal fillers like the likes, the ums, whatever. And he's somehow even worse at reading a teleprompter. So he's not meant for TV. I get it. He's the greatest or one of the greatest point guards of all time. So in that aspect, many former athletes and legends are almost guaranteed a TV job. But that's just a prime example that he's not cut out for it. Number 4. It's a bit of a hot take, just because of her career. But I got Doris Burke. I mean, she's a great sideline reporter. Amazing sideline reporter. But then she got to step up and became an analyst, and it's just so cringy every time she's talking. And I just think that, and I was annoyed that she got the finals because she's just annoying and biased and just pretty much sucks off the top stars like Steph Curry and everything. So she doesn't show like that integrity that an analyst should. Like if it's a sideline reporter, you can kind of be biased, and she has been in her interviews. But as an analyst, that's kind of when you need to have your biases aside and just call it as it is. And I feel like she doesn't really do that. So number 3, I got Colin Cowherd. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, forget about basketball. He's just the top 5 worst analyst in general. But since it's a basketball podcast, I'm only focusing on his awful basketball takes. Right before Christmas, 2 days before Christmas in 2019, He said Ben Simmons is a top 5 player in the NBA. It is more fun to watch than LeBron James. Fast forward to 2023, Ben Simmons is barely on. Hasn't played in a couple years. I mean, Meyer told us right before we recorded his 2K overall now is a 76, and then he said that the Golden State Warriors would never sign Kevin Durant or win titles with Kevin Durant. Obviously, they signed Kevin Durant and they won titles with Kevin Durant. So that's just another hot take. Number 2, I got Nick Wright. Same with Colin Cowherd, just worst analyst in sports in general. Doesn't really matter the sport, but just focusing on his basketball takes. When the Warriors, the day after the Warriors traded D'Angelo Russell to Minnesota for Wiggins, he said Andrew Wiggins is a bad basketball player. He's on an awful contract. It's unspeakable that the Warriors did this. It's over for them now. Their dynasty's over. We're never going to see Steph Curry in another NBA Finals. Well, obviously that's not true. They won the Finals with Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins was a key part for that team. So obviously, common Nick Wright L on that one.
Fair.
So then number 1, just one of the most awful analysts and people because he had very controversial comments in the past. I got Skip Bayless. I mean, I could tell you so many awful takes he's had. He said Dwayne Wade is the closest thing to Michael Jordan. Said the Bulls lucked into the number 1 seed when Derrick Rose went down. LeBron James is never going to win a championship. He said that James Worthy is the best number 1 overall pick of all time. Michael Jordan never had any help. LeBron James doesn't deserve an MVP. Blake Griffin isn't that good of a dunker.
Just laying it all there.
Kwame Brown is the worst number 1 pick of all time, which Kwame Brown wasn't good, but there's definitely worse ones. LeBron James isn't a top 5 player of all time, according to him. And James Harden should play point guard for the Thunder when he was on the Thunder over prime Russell Westbrook. So that's my top 5 worst basketball analysts. But those top 3 worst are honestly just top 3 worst in sports.
I'm surprised you put Doris Burke in there. I mean, the only issue I have with Doris Burke is the fact that she does, whenever she sees a player that she's in love with, you kind of have that weird thought in your head. You're like, is she actually orgasming right now? Or is she actually actually giving good takes on saying why this player is good? Like with Jimmy Butler, she was just, I know I love Jimmy Butler, great player, don't get me wrong, but she was just completely just obsessed with the way he played and obsessed just with how he carried himself, and that was just really weird to me, really strange.
Oh, I know. That's why I had her on the list. Listen, don't get me wrong. Amazing sideline reporter. One of the best in the game for basketball. Just as an analyst, I just think that she's too biased and doesn't have that integrity. And like you said, she's glazing players.
Yeah, just glazing him up. So my top 5. Top 5 for me. So some of the analysts that you mentioned and yours are kind of like the same for me, but they're just different numbers. I'm going to go with number 5. I'm going to go with Stephen A. Smith. Mainly because he was pretty good in I wouldn't say a couple years ago. He was pretty good 10 years ago with him and Skip Bayless on First Take. But now, the more he's on camera with First Take, with his debates with Max Kellerman, his debates with other players, JJ Redick would also school him on so many things and so many takes over the last couple of years. I just feel like he just can't get out of his own way when it comes to nuanced takes, and the things he says kind of feels like an old geezer talking about, the players that were good 10 years ago. Like he continues to bring up basketball topics that aren't really relevant anymore. It's always about LeBron James. It's always about Steph Curry. It's always about players that are on high market teams, and yet he fails to bring up players that are on low market teams or that are having quietly really good seasons, unless an NBA analyst like JJ Redick or, for instance, can't think of off the top of my head, but other NBA analysts that come up on First Take to sort of debate against Stephen A. Smith, it seems like they have a lot more to say because they're looking at basketball from the current lenses. So I feel like Stephen A. Smith kind of suffers through that as a current NBA analyst. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he was probably one of the best, but now he's sort of like fell off a little bit, in my opinion. Number 4, I'm going to go with Ryan Hollins. Ryan Hollins has said one of the dumbest takes. The reason why he's not as high on my list is because he actually was praised, and I'm like praised really well for seeing what Luka Doncic could do before anybody else could. He put Luka Doncic as number 1 for the 2018 NBA draft as number 1 overall, saying that he's going to be a star, and he was right. He was definitely right. But he's saying that LeBron's better than MJ, and like he's. I mean, there also is a debate there, but he keeps saying that like how Kobe might be better than MJ, or MJ might not be as good as he actually is, and it's just those type of really dumb takes kind of just like really grind my gears, man. I mean, like LeBron and MJ are completely different players. They're completely different size, completely different positions, and so the fact that he brought them up are just kind of just annoying to me. So that's why he's at number 4. And the one good take that he said was that Luka Doncic should have been number 1 overall, which I definitely do agree. So number 3, I'm gonna go with Skip Bayless. Now, Skip Bayless, as Brian mentioned, he's his number 1. Skip Bayless for me is number 3, mainly because of the fact that he actually has given a lot of NBA analysts screen time, and while he does say outlandish things about DeMar Hamlin and other things that were sort of controversial, he has given a lot of up-and-coming NBA analysts screen time. And from what Stephen A. Smith said, and Dak Prescott. Thanks, Brian, for mentioning his take on Dak Prescott. Just kind of out-of-line takes, but the contributions he's done and what he's given to these up-and-coming NBA analysts like Stephen A. Smith, like Shannon Sharp, although they left the show, and now Undisputed is probably one of the least watched shows now because Shannon Sharp's now with First Take. It feels like they're well-known names, not mainly because of Skip Bayless, but Skip Bayless has a huge factor in that. But his takes on Michael Kidd-Gilchrist being the best player in I believe in his draft was a complete failure. The fact that he thinks LeBron James isn't the greatest player of all time, the fact that he says that LeBron James is overrated, and how it's just my Spurs, and it's just a lot of really just insecure takes. Kind of put him at number 3 for me. But I don't think Paul Pierce is not as worse. I think Paul Pierce is definitely worse. I think whenever I see Paul Pierce on he's my number 2, by the way. Whenever I see Paul Pierce on TV, especially on ESPN halftime, I'm like, get this man off the camera. Get this man off the screen. Paul Pierce has had 0 good takes. 0. There's no reason why he should be. The only reason why he's on ESPN is because he played basketball and was a really good player in the NBA. That's it. Was clutch. Okay, the truth. Paul Pierce. But him being an analyst is so cringe and it's just so bad. Remember, Brian, that take? He said that the Celtics were going to sweep the Bucks after Game 1. He says, I think it's over. I think it's over. Like, no. And he got mad that people think that Dwayne Wade is better than him. No, Dwayne Wade is better than Paul Pierce, in my opinion. Dwayne is much better than
He also got mad. He said, I think he got mad with JJ Redick. I think that's who he was arguing with.
Yes.
That the big 3 Celtics would beat both the Heat's big 3 and the Warriors' big 3 in 7-game series.
Oh, yeah, no. Again, he takes things personally. That's why I don't really like him at all as an analyst. He takes things personally. Of course, Bill had to check him on that Dwayne Wade take, and he also said that Steph Curry is a wing player, which I'm like, no, Steph Curry is a point guard. He's not a wing player. There's no way that Steph Curry is ever going to be a wing player. He's one of the greatest point guards ever in the NBA.
No.
And he said that right when the Warriors were in their heyday. And it's just funny to me how he said that one of his top wing players is Steph Curry, behind Ray Allen. Like, oh my god. But there is no worse NBA analyst, Brian. No worse NBA analyst than Colin Cowherd. I mean, anything that comes out of his mouth is just crap, just bogus. Bogus. He said that Ben Simmons is a top 5 player in the NBA and is much more fun to watch than LeBron James. He said this back in 2019 when Ben Simmons couldn't even develop a jump shot yet, and was looking like probably going to be overrated as the years went on. And the fact that Colin Cowherd said that is just hilarious to me. Other things he said. He says that Golden State would never win KD or win titles with KD, as Brian, you mentioned. Again, just really, really stupid takes. The fact that they would never sign KD, look what they did. They signed KD and won 2 championships. I mean, NBA fans can debate on whether or not those championships are merited because of the fact that it was basically a super team. But the fact that Colin Cowherd said that is just blasphemous to me. Is just ridiculous. And anything he says. And anything he says on TV is just completely, just utter dog shit. Really, really. The reason why I put him worse than Paul Pierce is because Paul Pierce has some good moments on an NBA court, and Colin Cowherd didn't play for the NBA, so he's just a sports analyst that just has a big loud mouth, and that's it. So those are my top.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid list. Stephen A can definitely be. That's my only nitpick is Stephen A. I mean, he can be annoying sometimes, but I think, and he obviously does have some outlandish takes, but then he has some good takes. Followed up with some good takes, and kind of like you said about I think you said Skip Bayless building up people's careers. Stephen A. Smith has kind of done the same. I mean, you look at his journey of how he got to where he was, and he's definitely helped people, and I think he's a really good entertainer in that aspect. I mean, you're kind of seeing it now with his beef with Max Kellerman, but Stephen A. really helped Max Kellerman too. So I think in that regard, you kind of need to boost him up. But the only basketball problem I have with Stephen A. Smith is he pick and chooses when he wants to be a Knicks fan. When they had that solid stretch of being one of the worst teams in basketball, like Houston Rockets, on crack, way worse than that stretch. When the Knicks were the laughing stock of basketball, he didn't even claim to be a basketball fan or a Knicks fan, whatever. And then the Knicks had that one year when they made the playoffs and then they got upset by the Hawks. And then he was saying, "Oh, the Knicks are back." Now he's this Knicks fan. He's talking about the team, and then whatever. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. And that the Knicks are going to get this superstar, whoever was on the market. I think it was KD and Kyrie that year, the year after. But he's like, "Oh, the Knicks are getting Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Championship rafters are coming to New York. We're back," and saying all this stuff, and Zion too. He wasn't even saying it he hopes it happens or the Knicks should pursue it. He was saying it it's going to happen. And had that same excitement times 1,000 that I just had. He was fully convinced it was going to happen. All the diehard Knicks fans were finally getting their championship, and then obviously none of that happened. Then the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, and then he was shitting on that deal when that was obviously a flop. And Jalen Brunson has been the bright spot for the Knicks. Then I believe he was also shitting on the Josh Hart trade when it first happened. And then we get to the second round of the playoffs, and then now we're saying that the Knicks better get this superstar. And he was he was basically very pissed off that the Knicks didn't get Donovan Mitchell. So it's just he pick and chooses when, if they're in the spotlight, then I'll talk about them positively. And then if they fail to do something in his eyes or they don't make their big splash, he cuts them out of his life. It's even the same with football. He's more of a Dallas Cowboys hater than a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his relationship with the Knicks.
It kind of feels like he just kind of jumps on bandwagons when they're hot. It kind of feels like that's why I put him at number 5, because he never really used to do that. when he, especially with First Take on with Skip Bayless. He never really used to do that. But then when Skip Bayless left, he kind of turned into sort of a bandwagon fan for any team that like he's, I guess, remotely close with on a geographical standpoint with that. I don't know. I just he never really admits he's well. I wouldn't say he never does, but it's rare that he ever really admits he's wrong. Because he tries to. I wouldn't. That's why I said like on when he's number 5 for me. He's not terrible, but he's not like great anymore in my opinion. Which, to your point about him bringing up new NBA analysts to the forefront, like King of the Fourth Quarter, Kenny for real. I think that's a great thing that he did, and that's why Skip Bayless for me is number 4 because or it's just number 3, number 4. Oh, I literally forgot on my list. I think I put him number 3.
Yeah, you're 3.
Number 3. Which is why like he's number 3 because he brought up Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and stuff like that. So I feel like that's sort of gives them merit in a way, but I don't know. I just feel like Stephen A. Smith just doesn't really have much to say anymore when it comes to real basketball analysis talk. I think he just kind of picks and chooses, like you said before, like what he wants to talk about and not what really is important, what's at stake. Like, I don't mean to like switch away from NBA, but whenever he talks about MLB, I literally mute the TV. I don't want to hear him talk. I really don't want to hear him talk. Like, there was that one part where he talked about how he wants one player gone, and like he had no idea how to pronounce the player's name. I forgot what the name of the player was, but he mispronounced him horribly, and I think it's the Yankees. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, yeah, and he couldn't pronounce him. He couldn't pronounce that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and if he like if he read baseball or watched baseball like a game or two, he would know that IKF is probably one of the best hitters on the Yankees this year. So
sad as that is,
yeah, and he's like, I want him gone. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You really don't. So that's also one thing. He just kind of picks and chooses what he wants to talk about. And when he's forced to talk about something that he has like no knowledge of, he tries to go for sound bites or just meme material, not necessarily like good NBA analysts or analysis. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, those are our top 5. I think your list is good in a way, and my list is sort of more the same, but just different slots for different NBA analysts. You said you want to go over some honorable mentions?
Yeah, there's 2 that came to my mind that I wish I came up with, or if the list was longer. And that's Paul Pierce, for the same reasons that you said. He's so bad, I like forgot he was an analyst. Like when I think of Paul Pierce, I just think of like Hall of Fame player, and he shit himself during halftime. Those are the only 2 things I think of Paul Pierce. So like I forget that he's an analyst. That's how bad he is.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Kendrick Perkins.
Oh.
He's just so annoying, and like he doesn't have that like TV personality. He's either 0, where like you can tell he's bored or doesn't want to be there or not interested, or it's like you said something that pissed him off and he is going at your throat. Like it's like it's like a presidential debate almost, more than like, but like basketball.
Yeah.
More than like him talking, because he either is like doesn't want to be there and he'll give his points, but he's kind of like monotone, not entertaining, and then whatever, or just like you said something that pissed him off, he like vehemently disagrees with you, and like he's gonna let you hear it. And like there's even I forgot what they were talking about, but there was one time where it like even got personal. I think it was definitely with Stephen A. I don't remember what it was about though, but it like even got personal where they just like started going at each other. So it was just like, yeah, those are my top 2 honorable mentions. Maybe even take out Magic Johnson to put Kendrick Perkins at 5.
I would probably, tell you to put that, to replace him, because Kendrick Perkins is still an NBA analyst, and Magic Johnson just kind of appears, on various occasions. Doesn't really have, I mean, he appeared most of the time when he was, president of basketball operations for the Lakers. So, but now he's not anymore, and look you that meme, right? So we got Kendrick Perkins kind of like replacing him in that list for you. I think I put that there. I would actually put Kendrick Perkins as my honorable mention too, but I would not really have Paul Pierce, of course, because Paul Pierce is on my top 2 list of my top 5. I would put Shaq on my honorable mentions, and here's why. Shaq takes everything super personal about his career, extremely personal. And whenever he's backed into a corner in a debate, especially on Inside the NBA, he's like, 4 rings. I got 4 rings. I got 4 rings. I'm a champion, 4 rings. That's all he can say. And like, even if, with Dwight Howard, exactly, Mike, with Dwight Howard, like he got so personally offended when Dwight Howard called himself Superman, and he got so personally offended because of that. Because of course, Shaq was Superman back in the day when he was playing for the Magic and Lakers and stuff. So it's just he takes things way too personal. I wouldn't say his takes are awful, which reason why I'm putting him as an honorable mention, but the fact that he takes a lot of things personally on television, when he can't really admit to himself that, he may be wrong in this debate whenever he's debating with Charles Barkley or whenever he's on First Take. He just can't take it. He has to be angry and just start saying, I'm going to beat your ass or something. So that's why he's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's fair. I was considering him, but I think for the same exact thing that you said, like his takes aren't like outrageously awful,
No.
and I just think that like when he's not getting shitted on and like taking it personally, I think he's also really funny.
Yeah.
Like he'll have his like good moments. Like I mean, I know we said analyst, but it was just like TV personalities. I wouldn't have him at all because I think he does a great job on the TNT halftime show.
Yeah.
Chuck.
No, does a fantastic job.
Johnson.
Wonderful job.
But because we limited it to analyst, that's kind of why
Yeah.
I could see him being on. I mean, that's why I had Doris Burke on it, because if it was just TV personalities, I would have had her at all. She's an amazing sideline reporter.
Yeah.
But analyst, it's obviously a different story.
No, yeah, it's great to your point, Brian, too. I mean, a lot of the analysts, the ones that are good, when they're wrong, they admit they're wrong. Case in point for JJ Redick. If we do a best analyst, a top 5 best analysts, for a segment, then, spoiler alert, I got JJ Redick on that list. So,
So do I.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's what a good analyst does. They have good takes. They don't put any sort of personal ties to it. And when they admit they're wrong, they do. They admit they're wrong. Like JJ Redick completely admitted that he was wrong about the Kings being a bottom 10 seed, which they aren't. They were a top 3 seed. So and they're going to be even better than the next season, or this upcoming season in the next few weeks. So Malika Andrews, I mean, I haven't really watched her a ton. There was that one part where she does bring like that meme where like she's brought up whenever she like a reporter or some sort of like segments going on, and then somebody plays the role of Malika Andrews and talks about like something completely out of left field about the segment, like controversial. Yeah, like she brought about Brandon Miller's college, I guess. Accomplice to the arrest that he was a part of, and I'm like, why would you bring that up in the NBA draft? That's kind of out of left field. It's a little weird to me, but I haven't really watched much of her to make a decision on that. So I think I might, over the course of the next week or so, if we do like a best NBA analyst, I will. Take a look at her and see if she fits that list, or maybe the honorable mentions. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pose a question for you, and then we can move on if you want.
Sure.
But considering the personalities and backgrounds that we've had on this list, I've always like looked at it in other sports. Like I know this gets talked about a lot in football, especially because of some of the analysts they have. But when you're thinking, it could be the TNT halftime show, it could be ESPN, it could just be a game, and they're having an analyst on there. When you're thinking about your best analyst of like who you'd want out there, would you rather see guys with NBA experience and like so then they can relate to the game, or would you rather just be like guys like me and you who are just diehard fans of the sport who like still know the sport and know the game, but they don't have that NBA experience.
I would like a mashup of the two. There are a lot of NBA analysts who are former players that don't do very well, mainly because they might take things really personally, or they might make really outlandish takes, or they're not really well spoken for TV. So a player like Tyrese Halliburton, if you've heard him speak, he has a definitive TV voice, and I feel like that will be really good for TV. Once Draymond Green retires, I feel like he'd be great for inside the NBA. And they're all former players. He's going to be a former player, so I feel like I would want a former player, but somebody who has great TV personality. Not just somebody who just because they played in the NBA for 15 or so years that they get a chance to be an NBA analyst because they played the game. Just because you played the game doesn't mean you might perform well on television to talk about the game. If Yeah, a mixture of both.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely want a mixture of both for the sole reason like that they could balance off each other. I mean, you got the guy that's like the TV guy with the no NBA experience that can kind of help ease him in and keep him in check, and then you could kind of have the guy with the NBA experience who can relate to the game more, can even relate to the player more, and just have that insight. So I think a mixture of both would be good because
Yeah.
there's pros and cons to both.
You asked about our opinion on Matt Barnes. I like him. I like his podcast.
Yeah,
His podcast is cool. This is podcast.
yeah. So do I.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if NBA players aren't on the mainstream shows, um, it's not really an issue anymore. Like they're making their own podcast, and because of the fact that they're well known in the NBA, like Podcast P or Showtime basketball, or who else? I think Gilbert Arenas has his own podcast now. They
Hmm.
don't really have much of NBA analyst experience or chances really, and aside from the few guest appearances, but they're not really an NBA analyst for ESPN or for TNT or for any other like mainstream sports publications. They can make in this day and age. They can make their own show, and they can make a YouTube channel and their own show and talk about the game of basketball because it's personable. It's more personal because it's the fact that there's no filler, there's no censoring or a set schedule on what they're going to talk about, like that's like rigid, like First Take or like Undisputed or like I would argue inside the NBA, even though they do have a little bit more of a personalized way of approaching basketball, they do still have a set schedule on things to talk about. Rather on podcasts, yeah, there is a set schedule on things, but they make it more like it's just a conversation, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I think we should switch gears, man. Let's actually talk about basketball. I mean, yeah, we have talked about basketball, but let's talk about some trade news and some things rumbling in the NBA before the season starts. So, as far as I know, with Damian Lillard's trade status, Brian, what they apparently like the Heat and the Blazers have sort of like halted talks for the time being, or maybe there's like a third team deal involved. Maybe the Charlotte Hornets. They might want a player from the Heat to sort of involve himself in this team deal. Like, what is there any sort of a specific information on that? It's kind of a blurry outlook. I mean, what's your sort of take on this sort of prolonged trade deal?
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, I feel like in basketball, there's always this happens at least once a year where there's these like ongoing, then it pauses, trade talks with. Now you're seeing it with Damian Lillard with the Heat. Then the Brooklyn Nets were in it for a while. Then they kind of backed out. Then they can still come back in. Then there was the Thunder who kind of jumped out of nowhere because of all the draft capital they have. Now apparently the Charlotte Hornets are involved. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like even the media is keeping it quiet, or like the front office, which could be an inkling that it's actually going to happen. I mean, you saw in our basketball Slack today with Bill Ingram saying that this deal should probably get to happen before training camp. I mean, I don't think it happens. I don't think it has to happen before training camp. I mean, best case scenario for all teams involved, it does, but I mean, Portland really has all the leverage here. Like they're the one trading Damian Lillard, who's a superstar that's sought after. So, and obviously, like they're very respectful and thankful for Damian Lillard for what he's done in Portland. But like they're not just going to send him off because he wants to. Like they're going to make sure they do what's best for them. And I think that's kind of haunting them back. And I think that the Tyler Hero situation is a huge part of why the trade hasn't been done because of his contract. Portland didn't really want him. That's why they're trying to bring a third team in. Then Tyler Hero was felt disrespected by the Heat, but he still wants to be on the Heat and all of this stuff. It's almost like that like toxic ex girlfriend that like you dump her and you leave her, and then out of nowhere she comes back. That's kind of what these trade deadlines are like. These trade rumors are like because it's like, oh, then there was a point where then the NBA draft was really the eye-opening part to me. It was okay. Dame's gone before the draft. Like they're not getting Victor
That's
Wembanyama,
what I thought
so it's
too.
Brandon. So it's like Brandon Miller or Scoot, and then I was like, okay, trade deadline like leading up to the draft, no trades involving them. I'm like, okay, interesting. Then I'm like, first pick Spurs, obviously Wembanyama. Second pick Brandon Miller. I'm like, I was kind of shocked, but at the same time, I was like, I actually thought Charlotte was leading towards Brandon Miller. And then the third pick, Portland's on the clock, and then I'm like, wow, no trade. And then they take Scoot Henderson, and I'm like, holy shit, huge pick. Now it's a matter of time that Damian Lillard's gone. And then that hasn't happened. And then the Jeremy Grant situation where they thought he was going to leave. Then they bring him back. And then they said that they were going to bring him back for Damian Lillard to try to bring him help. That's what Damian Lillard has asked for his whole career. And then apparently that had no like relationship. Like there was no connection there. So it's just like a lot of question marks and a lot left to be desired. I couldn't even tell you where this is going to go. I mean, training camp is starting in a couple weeks, and there's also the situation because Damian Lillard once again has no leverage in this situation. So I don't even know if I don't know. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that would hold out, but like if he does, he's just screwing himself because like I said again, he has no leverage in this situation. I mean, I'd be interested to see what Charlotte does and how they get involved if that's true because they apparently like the backcourt of LaMelo Ball and Tyler Hero. I mean, that would be kind of fun to watch. I still don't think they would be much of contenders, so I don't really know what they're doing. And like I don't really think they have a lot of I don't even think they have the trade assets unless like they throw a shit ton of draft picks in because they're not good. Like I don't even know what they could throw in to make it enticing. I mean, maybe PJ Washington, but then again, it's like Charlotte has no bigs, so they're back to square one. Like when they had Kemba Walker, and then Al Jefferson was hurt. So it's like I don't really know what they could throw in. I mean, I guess they could throw in Nick Smith, the rookie, but
It feels like Charlotte doesn't really have any assets, as you mentioned. Um, Making this like prolonging this is kind of a bad thing for teams that want to get Lillard. I mean, your training camp's coming up. Um, the Miami Heat, the longer that they wait for this trade to pull the trigger for each team that's involved to okay with it, I mean, they're going to have to develop chemistry with each other if Lillard does come to Miami. And then the longer they wait, the longer the chemistry is going to be built. And it might be like another year where Miami sort of becomes like a sleeper team and kind of like finally hits its stride after the first half of the season or something like that. With Lillard kind of staying with Portland for now, and I know that he's sort of just being a trade piece. It's kind of I don't know. I did agree with you that I thought that Lillard was going to be traded pretty soon after they picked up Scoot, and that was sort of just like the Blazers' decision. But it's now September, the middle of September, and nothing's really happened. It's been a kind of like a Mexican standoff. No one's really pulling the trigger. Also, I feel like the Heat kind of need Tyler Hero, don't you think? I mean, they don't really have many assets. I mean, they lost Max Strus to the Cavs. What was his next? Caleb Martin, the guy that they
Yeah,
drafted.
they lost Caleb Martin, lost Gabe Vincent to the Lakers.
Yeah. Well, Caleb Martin's on the team,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, what?
Caleb Martin's on the team, right? They lost Strus and Gabe
Oh yeah,
Vincent.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
they lost Strus and Vincent.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they
yeah.
lost
They
two key
resigned him.
guards slash small forwards. So they kind of need to either keep Hero or trade him away to get more assets. And I don't think when if they get Lillard, I think that's all they'll probably get. They'll probably have to give away more than what they're going to be given, besides getting Lillard. So it's more along the trust of the players they drafted. What was his name? The player they drafted who had a pretty good summer league. He had really long hair.
Jaime Jaquez
Yeah,
Jr.
yeah. So I mean, that's one of the um, highlights of the draft that they got, and he's definitely Heat material. It's just who else do they have? They lost two of the key guards. It's kind of tough for them
Yeah, I mean,
to
oh sorry.
it's kind of tough for them to really form together a team in such little time right now.
Yeah, I mean, if this was talked about, if this trade was talked about a couple years ago, when Duncan Robinson was actually like a solid player, a solid contributing player, and they had Caleb Martin, or they still have Caleb Martin. I don't know why I keep messing that up. Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, you have tons of depth. But
Oh
now
yeah,
Duncan Robinson isn't good. You lost those guys. I mean, Jaime Jaquez Jr., sure, he could be something, but he's more of a three anyway. Nikola Jovic, who had a good summer league, is also unproven. He's also more of a three. And I mean, their roster is pretty much the same of guys that will actually be in the rotation. I mean, they added Thomas Bryant and Josh Richardson. That doesn't really do it for me. They think that there's a possibility Haywood Highsmith could help more on the defensive end, but I just don't really think that they have a lot of assets to give up to like help this team. Like, sure, your starting lineup gets better, but I mean, I think if you take a look at the roster of what they could do, my guess if they get Damian Lillard is they'll trade Kyle Lowry just for more depth, like a 2-for-1 deal or something. I don't know how it would work
would
out.
they
But
really want to get Kyle Lowry from Lillard?
no, I'm saying a separate deal.
Oh, separate deal. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, like they'll get Lillard and then around like the trade deadline or after they'll trade Kyle Lowry or something. I mean, they'll probably have to for money anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting and a good point that you mentioned that like the Heat with the chemistry issues. Because obviously, the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for whoever gets Lillard
Yeah.
because they're going to have to play with a new team, new system, new coaching, all that stuff. But I feel like it wouldn't affect the Heat for some reason more than any other team, just because that's kind of always been since Jimmy Butler's been on the team, their identity. They're always kind of this. Oh, they're just gonna mess around. They'll be good enough to get into the playoffs, but they won't reach their regular season potential where they should probably be a top 3 or 4 seed. And then in the playoffs, that's where they make their mark and they go on this deep run. So I feel like it's okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's great, and like if I'm a Heat fan, I'm not happy about this. But if like they're definitely getting Damian Lillard, like if they do, then I wouldn't be that worried that it's taking this long because I think they'll still figure it out. And Damian Lillard's hungry for a championship, and whatever team he gets traded to is going to be his best chance at it, unless just like whenever he's up in free agency, he just decides to ring hop and like bring back the super team stuff. But
I'm saying.
realistically,
I'm saying. It's always been OKC for me. Lillard should go to OKC. He does not know he has no idea what he's missing. He got no idea. If Lillard goes to OKC, they are a finals contender.
like right now,
If Lillard goes to OKC, yes. with Shea on the team, hell yeah.
I don't.
Shea's an All NBA
I
caliber
don't know about
player.
that.
Oh come on, man. You can't. They're definitely like at least semifinals bound. Come on.
I mean, I just listen. Right now, and like I've kind of been saying this like different sport, but about the Jets, like they haven't made the playoffs in 12 years. The Thunder, it's been like a couple years. They haven't been like legit championship caliber in a
But
while.
the Jets are the
Rome
Jets.
wasn't. Well, okay, you could say the Thunder or the
The
Thunder. I
Thunder,
mean,
the
I
Jets are
just
the
don't
Jets. The
see.
Thunder made the playoffs in the bubble
That's true. Well,
with
it's the
Chris
bubble.
Paul, and they had no, they had no business being in the playoffs.
Well, one, it's the bubble. So, but like in all seriousness, though, like I don't think the Thunder can all of a sudden get one player and be a championship caliber team. Listen, Damian Lillard can take them to sure the semifinals, but I don't really and like listen, getting Damian Lillard would be better for them long term, but I just cannot say right now they're in NBA finals or even conference
I mean,
final
not without
You know,
Lillard. I mean, I think that the Thunder are
yeah, no, I mean
definitely
I'm saying even with
best
Lillard,
case
I'm saying with
scenario.
Lillard.
Best case scenario, they're like a 6 seed for OKC.
I mean, in my opinion, only way that happens if they get Lillard is Chet Holmgren's the player he's supposed to be, and then some, like all NBA caliber.
I
Then
think he will
sure,
be.
with him, Shea and Dame Dollar, then sure,
Or
I could say they can go
here's
to
the
the
thing: I
conference.
think that Chet might be a trade piece. You think Chet Holmgren going to the Blazers would be nice? They'll be full on
For
rebuild.
Portland, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be full on rebuild.
I don't think the Thunder should do that though.
I mean, they have tons of draft capital, so they might just use those instead. But we're
Yeah,
just
that's probably
we're
what it means.
overanalyzing it. Damian Lillard's not going to the Thunder. There's no way. But I mean, that would be nice. It'd be really nice. I would be a Thunder fan, rooting for them. Brian, I got a question for you. So this trade talk with Damian Lillard's kind of just complicated right now. Is it more complicated than with James Harden going to the Clippers? Because the Clippers just started. I mean, not started. They just stopped with trade talks with James Harden with Philadelphia. And the things that James Harden said about Daryl Morey and China and him just really embracing Chinese culture. And I'm thinking to myself, he could definitely play with China. And Dwight Howard was like trying to recruit him and stuff. I mean,
Taiwan, yeah.
yeah. What does that mean for Philadelphia, considering that James Harden is apparently staying?
Uh,
It's awkward.
I mean,
I think it's
it's
certainly awkward.
definitely awkward. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, I could already put money on the line just knowing how they are. Opening night, whoever the 76ers even play, or sorry, their home opener, Harden's getting booed. That's already a lock.
For
I could
sure.
tell you that
For sure.
he's getting booed. I mean, they just lost all respect and love for him. I mean, it's the city of brotherly love for Harden. It's the city of brotherly hate. I mean, he's just not going to be appreciated there, and honestly, rightfully so. I mean, I just think he showed massive immaturity with some of his comments towards Daryl Morey, the general manager. But I think it's definitely awkward. And if I'm a 76ers fan, I'm just like, what's next at this point? Like, what is he going to do now? Like, because obviously he's going to do something to try and get himself out there. Maybe he took advantage of National Cheeseburger Day yesterday and ate 40. Who knows? And he's going to try to eat his way out of Philadelphia. I mean, I heard they got some great Philly cheesesteaks there. So maybe he's just wanting to eat his way out. Maybe he's going to use his mouth in other ways and just badmouth his way out there. And maybe he'll just start going at Joel Embiid or continue his comments toward Daryl Morey. Maybe he doesn't gel with Nick Nurse, which honestly he probably won't. If we're gonna get into that, I don't think him and Nick Nurse will work well together, for starters. But yeah, it's more just when is he leaving more than can he stay and help the team. So it's a matter if, or sorry, it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah,
in my
it
opinion.
is. It is a matter of when. Really, I mean, it's just when are they going to give him up and finally just pull the trigger and send him away to another team? I have a hot take. I think the Philadelphia 76ers process, I think it ended with Elton Brand or Sam Hinkie.
Can you
Either.
elaborate?
So with Elton Brand, he went full on championship mode. He signed Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Uh,
Oh yeah,
he
yeah,
brought in like he was dealing with the whole Brett Brown situation. The Colangelo situation was also kind of fishy with the whole burner account. He brought in, I believe, he brought in Doc Rivers. So it's just, I think it sort of was kind of fishy with Sam Hinkie because people didn't really believe him and they fired him too soon. But then when they brought in Elton Brand, he made just outlandish mistakes that sort of just derailed Philly's career trajectory for a championship. And this kind of rippled into this bad situation. I mean, now I think Embiid's going to be gone. There's some talk that
yeah.
Embiid might be
I
gone.
mean, yeah, and like before I talk about that, I'm gonna even one up your hot take, and obviously it leads to it. But I want to say their championship window ended as soon as Kawhi Leonard triple doinked that fadeaway 3-pointer over Joel Embiid.
I don't know about
I
that.
thought that was their well because then it led to that downfall of like you said, they chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. I think that was their best chance, and
I
then
think that was when
and all that.
they fucked up because Jimmy Butler wanted to be there, but then
Yeah,
but then he kept getting ostracized, and was like, all right, you picking Tobias Harris over me? Fine, I'll go to Miami, build my own culture there.
and Jimmy Butler on and off the court literally represents Philadelphia. Like
That's why.
hard nosed, like tough guy,
Yeah,
plays both ends of the court. Like he is Philadelphia,
and
and
that's why he
like
loved it there.
gets along with his teammates. Like can have been a great mentor for the younger guys. Like Tyrese Maxey is already good. If Butler was there for a couple more years, Maxey could be really good, like All Star level.
Yeah,
And obviously they kind of throw that out the window. And then now every time Butler plays against Philadelphia, he has a chip on his shoulder, and
yeah,
Butler usually wins.
yeah.
And then, like you said, yeah, and Embiid's gonna be gone too.
You see it
I don't know where. I'm hoping the Knicks, but the Knicks are rumored for every superstar and never land
because
one.
they're New
So,
York. They always be rumored to get high quality players. New York. It's my awful.
well, that one, I forgot who it was. I think it was someone from the Athletic. Said that they guaranteed that within a year, by like this time next year, they'll have either Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, or Joel Embiid on their roster. It was mentioned in my latest article, so to plug it. But
Nice plug-in.
um, yeah, so I think I mean, listen, even if Joel Embiid doesn't go to the Knicks, I can tell you for sure he is not finishing next summer in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That's gone. Their trust the process is now trust the rebuild because their process is over. Like we both agree on.
Yeah, the process is definitely over. It's definitely over and kind of ended on a really sour note. Especially when they can't even make any trades with their toxic ex girlfriend, as you mentioned. I think this is the toxic ex girlfriend story, Brian. I think it's more about this than Damian Lillard. Like James Harden is a toxic ex girlfriend. He's like the definition of a toxic ex. Like he doesn't want to be with you, and then he just shows up because he has to. Like that's definitely a definition of a toxic relationship, especially with Daryl Morey.
Yeah,
Like that bromance is that ship has sailed. It's gone. It is gone. And then Philly, to try to salvage something, they signed Kelly Oubre. Good signing though. I think it's sort of like under the radar signing, but they need to do something.
could be.
It could be something. Kelly Oubre was pretty good on the Suns and on the Hornets. He was pretty good. I like his play, especially in NBA 2K18. I liked his play.
Yeah, Ubre's a fine player. He's not a great player. He doesn't bring this process back on.
Oh no, definitely
I
not.
mean,
But he's fine. He's good.
he had a career year last year, averaging 20 points with Charlotte. So like, good for him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't save this franchise, in my opinion. It's not like the movie need. It's not like, oh my god,
he's a
we got
nice
Kelly
little
Oubre
piece.
championship.
He's a good little piece when it comes to like a championship team that needs like a little bit of extra players in the rotation.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it. So it's just really just trying to search
Or maybe
for
it's a good signing to hold on to till January, and then when they hit the reset button, he's a good piece to trade away.
Because he plays really well. They give him empty minutes, and he just plays really well because the 76ers are going nowhere, right? And so they're like, he is good trade value. Okay, I see.
He's still young too. He's 27.
Oh yeah,
so he can still contribute to any
definitely.
championship caliber team he's on.
I see. If Philly just completely just pisses the bed, I see him being a nice little trade piece to a contending team. Maybe he can go back to Phoenix. Maybe, you know.
I mean,
Phoenix or Golden State.
if they're paying him in chips because they have no money,
They don't have any money. They're paying him in bubblegum wrappers.
yeah. I mean, maybe they're giving them VC to spend on tattoos.
Yeah, probably. VC spent on tattoos. Nice. All right. Do you want to talk about the FIBA World Cup a little bit? And I mean, we don't have to talk about too much. It happened like last month, so. But we can talk about the fact that since the USA got eliminated because of the fact that they had inexperienced players and hardly any sort of big man in the interior, which is why they mostly lost their games, LeBron James might be back for Team USA next year. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna answer those points in order. The first point about the United States losing to Germany because they quote unquote had inexperienced players is a load of crap. It's bullshit.
I'm not. That's not my take.
No, I'm not. I know. I'm not saying you.
Not my
I'm just
take.
saying that the media.
It's the media.
The media is saying that is a load of crap. I mean, sure, they didn't have the LeBron Jameses, the Kevin Durant's, the Steph Currys, whatever. They still, hands down, had the best roster in the world. Kristaps Porzingis didn't play for Latvia. Luka was on an island with him in Slovenia. The top stars didn't even play. Like Devin Booker wasn't playing for Canada. These stars. The United States still had the best roster. So to call it a choke job in the sense of inexperience is bullshit. And then transitioning to my second point, the reason the United States lost is because of one person and one person only, and that's Steve Kerr. He constructed this team like the NBA team he coaches, the Golden State Warriors. He tried to get all these guys that can be catch and shoot guys like the Warriors. The NBA is completely different from international competition. International competition, people, especially these smaller countries who aren't dominant in basketball, they care more. Like, if you were going to tell me Slovenia is relevant in basketball, I would laugh in your face. But Luka Doncic cares about it way more. He was an international guy before he got to the NBA. Him alone made Slovenia relevant. Latvia, without Kristaps Porzingis, still relevant. Spain, Ricky Rubio didn't play a single game in the tournament because of taking a mental health break. They were ranked the number one team in the world. And they had Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who was literally in a movie, and his brother, Willie Hernan-Gomez. And they were one of the best teams in the world. You take a look at Canada. Dylan Brooks was playing relevant. You took a look at the Olympics.
He will play relevant in the NBA. He will.
Yeah, he will. But I'm just saying, like, he looked way better in the Olympics.
He looks so good as in
in the
uniform.
FIBA World Cup.
He looks so good.
And then you have, I mean, international play is kind of what earns you the big bucks. I mean, Gabe Vincent might have not even been in the NBA if he didn't destroy the United States when he was on Nigeria in the Olympics or whatever it was. Then you have Evan Fournier, who literally got a bag with the Knicks because he did so dominant for France. And then speaking of France, they didn't even do anything. The United States, when Steve Kerr made this roster, should have easily had a big man. They had Walker Kessler, who as a rookie was top 4 in blocks. Didn't play him. Where was he?
Yeah.
Paolo Banchero, undersized 4. They stopped playing him. Where were these guys when they could have been on there? And then add on to it in the worst part, the icing on the cake, the cream of the crop. Interview, United States loses. They don't win the gold medal. They lose to Canada, Germany. They didn't even win the bronze medal when it's the United States. And Steve Kerr goes, it's not 1992 anymore. No shit, it's not 1992 anymore. It's 2023. No excuses. Who says that?
He's factually right. He's factually right. I wouldn't say that he's like.
He's factually right.
I wouldn't say that he's like analysis-wise he's right.
What's that not worth mentioning? Yeah, you don't have the dream team or the redeem team, but this still is the United States. It should be the gold medal team. Each and time count out international play. It should be the United States being on the podium for a gold medal. Listen, sometimes a choke job happens where you get a silver or a bronze medal. To not even be on the podium and then you don't even take accountability for it, it's just outlandish to me. And I think because of how bad the United States shitted on the international play, and then you throw into the comment that United States track star said, who said he sometimes loves the United States, and that they shouldn't call themselves the best NBA players when they win the finals, shouldn't call themselves the best player in the world, that whole thing. That's why LeBron wants to throw it back to Phineas and Ferb and bring the whole band back together. Because he wants to restore United States basketball the way it should be, where they're perennial gold medal winners.
When he's 40. Hey, what's up, Brian? How's it going? How's it going, Brian? I'm actually from the past. Dude, LeBron is the greatest player on the NBA right now. He is LeBron. Oh my God, dude. Kevin Durant is such an up-and-coming star. Look, they will be so good on Team USA. So fucking good. Oh my God. Dude. Paul George. Oh, dude. Oh, it's game over, man. It's game over. Dude, and dude, they were gonna get Steph Curry, but Steph Curry is kind of young. He has broken ankles, so I really don't feel like he could be, eligible for Team USA excellence. So yeah, dude, that lineup's gonna be sick, especially in 10 years.
We need to be entertaining. We need Vince Carter.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm telling you, man. But we need some real serious players who know how to play ball, who know how to just bully. Bring back Allen Iverson.
And Steve Kerr should be the coach because it's still 1992.
Yeah, because he still thinks it's 1992 until they lost. But on a serious note, Brian, if you told me that you had a team with Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Walker Kessler, I'd be like, yo, these guys are definitely conference finals bound.
Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Paolo Banchero, all those guys.
Yeah. I would definitely tell you that they're finals bound. I mean, that's how good they are. But you're right, to your point. Steve Kerr kind of played them like the Golden State Warriors. None of those players really are specifically 3-and-D players. He plays with his Golden State Warriors. The only couple players that actually touch the ball and make dribble shots is Steph Curry, maybe Klay Thompson a little bit. Draymond Green's a facilitator. Well, I mean, he's not the facilitator that he was 5 or 6 years ago. But again, there's hardly any sort of big man on the court. It's very undersized players. And then you've got a ton of other countries who play very, very big size players. So there you go. You're already outmatched in the interior. So clearly, it's not 1992. It's the fact that you assembled a team that has hardly any size depth with a coach that prioritizes a fast-moving offense with 3-and-D players who play well in that system.
Yeah, and what's even more mind-boggling is, listen, I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm a basketball fan first, so I'm rational. I'm not biased. He was starting Josh Hart over Mikal Bridges. Towards the later. Like Josh Hart couldn't even start over R.J. Barrett,
Mikal Bridges
and I
is
actually like R.J. Barrett. Hence the jersey right there. But like Mikal Bridges is amazing.
he's
He
good.
broke out. He's very good. He's all NBA level. And they're starting Josh Hart over him, a guy that couldn't even average 10 points.
Hey, you're a Josh
Like,
Hart fan. You praise him, but when you look at actual stats, Mikal Bridges is the better player.
by a country mile.
How far is the country mile?
Honestly, I got so mad about that out of no reason. I feel like Mad Dog Russo. And like I didn't even watch every United States game.
Wait.
I just felt like Mad Dog
You,
Russo.
you gotta
right
you gotta do the New York accent though. You can't just be regular like Brian Ramos accent. If you want to be Mad Dog Russo, you gotta be like super like Bronx or Brooklyn or whatever accent that is with a strong forward voice. Like that's and you gotta be mad too, like real mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, I mean,
But
it's
it's
again, LeBron and James wants to bring back the band. He's now pushing for 2024 Team USA. He wants Kevin Durant. He wants Steph Curry. He wants. I mean, is Giannis going to be there? Maybe. Actually, not Giannis. Giannis plays in Greece. My bad. My fault.
yeah.
But he wants like all the players that he played with 10 years ago to be back on Team USA and see if they can pull it off at age 39. It's hilarious to me. It's like the big three. It's like Ice Cube's big three players trying to join the NBA. That's how I see it. That's
Yeah, I think
injuries galore.
I'm fine with I'm fine with LeBron wanting to play. I mean, he's him and Carmelo Anthony are probably are up there and greatest US Olympian basketball players. So like if they want to make the comeback and listen, there it depends on who these names are, but like I'm fine with LeBron coming back because he's still in great shape, even though he's taking a step back. I'm fine with Steph Curry. I'm fine with Anthony Davis. Like if LeBron wants to bring his best teammates or whatever, fine. But I think they still need to have that health balance where they bring in younger guys because you saw injuries happen, especially with older guys, like when Paul George broke his leg from the Olympics.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's still
case in point, Kristaps Porzingis couldn't play because he had plantar fasciitis, I believe, right? On Latvia?
and like there's that aspect of like I think they need a healthier balance, but I think they need to make a coaching change too at Team USA. I mean, if I'm like
Bring back Coach K.
it's not. Yes, bring back Coach K. I mean, well, he retired, so I don't think he'll take it.
He'll get out
I mean,
of. He'll like come out of retirement and just bring back Coach K.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, like the best coaches like in basketball are all old, like Popovich, Coach K. I mean, Steve Kerr is not like the youngest guy.
Go to the cemetery.
It's they need to get young.
Go to the cemetery where Jerry Sloan got buried and bring him back from the dead. Like that's.
I mean, I think I could name you 3 guys right now I'd rather have team coach USA than Steve Kerr, and that's Bill Self, head coach of Kansas. Eric Spoelstra, I think he's a very underrated head coach. That's probably my leading candidate, to be honest with you.
He's got. I feel like he has that Team USA vibe. It's all about winning the game, not really picking players or choosing players that are like name dropping. He just chooses players that work well with each other, and they're all variety in size.
Yeah,
I think that.
And then, actually, probably I can only think of 2 names right now. So those are probably the 2 guys I'd rather have than Steve Kerr. I mean, listen, Steve Kerr is still a very good head coach. Obviously, he's won championships. I'd be fine with him as an assistant head coach, but just I place all my blame on Team USA's failures on him. Just the way he constructed that roster, the lack of accountability when he's the head coach. Like, It's not 1992 anymore. Like that would be like if the United States like lost to Russia just like in baseball and just being like it's not the Cold War anymore. Like that's just
Does Russia have a baseball
it's
team?
mind-boggling to me. I don't even
I
know.
don't think they have a baseball team, but I mean, I see your point.
Okay, sorry, losing to Japan.
Okay.
Then,
Well, actually, that's
but Japan's actually
that's
really
good.
Never mind.
Yeah,
That's
Japan's
bad.
a really good baseball team.
Yeah, no, Japan's a very good baseball team. Never mind.
Yeah.
But you get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. I could throw in a name for you for Team USA coach wise. Billy Donovan, great college coach, an okay basketball coach, but a really good college coach. Billy Donovan. Hey, he works well with young players. Works decently well with NBA basketball players.
Well, see, I think if LeBron brings the band back together, I don't know if Billy Donovan would work in that respect. I don't know.
He'd bring Ty Lue to coach.
Yeah, he'd bring back Ty.
He'd bring back Ty Lue. Yeah, he would.
And then they'd bring Jason Kidd if Kevin Durant and Kyrie are on the team too.
Yeah. Ty Lue and Jason Kidd.
Although Kyrie could play for Team Australia, his Australian citizenship.
He could also play for Israel.
Yeah, and then they're trying to get Joel Embiid to be on Team USA.
No, he doesn't. He's from Cameroon, right?
Yeah, but I think he just got his. Oh no, it's Giannis. Giannis just became an American.
No, that would be a backlash. There would be riots in the streets of Germany or Greece. Sorry, Greece.
Oh yeah, no, he's running with his brothers on Greece.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, and then Giannis didn't even play for Team Greece. Thanasis Antetokounmpo, their only player in the NBA on Team Greece, who scored 4 points and they still won. So like, back to my earlier point, like. The United States should have won in flying colors, and they didn't.
Well, yeah, unfortunately. But I guess we kind of like talked about the fact that LeBron wants to bring their brand back together and how that actually might work and actually might not work. So I think we kind of addressed that in that case. We can sort of mention a couple of signings, a couple of key signings along with Kelly Oubre going to Philly. Christian Wood is finally on a team, Brian. Finally on a team. I was worried about him. I thought he was never going to get signed this offseason. But Christian Wood is an LA Laker. I'm like wondering, why wasn't this happening sooner? Because the writing was on the wall. Christian Wood would fit very well on this Lakers squad. And again, cements another great signing that Rob Pelinka's done in this Lakers offseason, this killer Lakers offseason. I see them as a top 3 seed in the West because of their really nicely constructed roster around Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Also, along with that, my boy Vanderbilt, guy I've interviewed twice as pro camps. He signs a 4-year extension with LA. And just good stuff. I mean, decent extension, not too expensive, kind of well worth in his contract in terms of playoff performance and regular season performance. I like it. I like these 2 signings.
Yeah, I mean, good signings for the Lakers. You can never use more depth, and they probably will be a top 3 team in the Western Conference. Because there's a lot of it's the Nuggets, and then, in my opinion, a lot of question marks of 2 through 10. So you never know what could happen. I mean, the Lakers very easily could be top 3, but good signings for them. You're probably very happy for Vando, probably just as happy as he is.
Oh, yeah.
Since you've had the privilege to interview him twice. I mean, I kind of feel that connection with the guy I just recently interviewed in Mac McClung. He's now in Orlando Magic.
They have too many guards. Way too many guards now.
They do have too many guards, but, I mean, it's probably going to be like that, like what he did with the 76ers, where he'll be in the G League.
Oh, it's a 2-way player?
And then as soon as the dunk
two-way
contest.
contract?
Yeah. And then as soon as the dunk contest happens in February, they'll like call him out right around then, so he'll be eligible. And then
I mean, he'll just keep on making $500,000 each year with that dunk contest, those dunk contest wins. It's just kind of how his career goes, you know?
Yeah, I mean I guess that's gonna be it's sad, but
Hey, it's tough to be in the NBA,
it is tough.
especially
But it's
for
just like when it's just like I mean I'm sure you saw it with Vanderbilt like at his camp or at both of his camps. Like when I was there, like some people just look way better like when they're not in an NBA game. Like if they're
yeah.
just out of court, like Mac McClung hit like 2 threes from the logo. I mean, and his camp was a dunk camp. It wasn't even like a regular like basketball camp. It's like the littler kids were just doing like dunking drills, and then he would one on one some of the kids. But like he hit 2 threes from the logo. There's like players where like if you've gone to an NBA camp and you just or NBA game and you just watch them warm up, and like Blake Griffin like shot like 30 made like 36 threes in a row during warm-ups or something, but like he's not a good shooter.
It's
So it's kind
strange.
of just
It's
crazy.
honestly strange how like that certain players can't shoot threes or can't shoot certain shots in games, but when they're in shoot around, they're knocking them down like it's butter. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess it's just depend. It's just different because of the fact they're not playing in a game, but like they're working on some new mechanics or maybe some permanent habits so they can develop a jump shot or a 3 point shot in an NBA game. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a confidence thing. Oh, okay, yeah, it's definitely a confidence thing for sure. Because you got to be confident you can make that shot
Yeah.
consistently every single game. So that's why most players are. Well, I hope Ben Simmons is doing it. He claims that he is doing it.
Yeah, and I claim I'm going to be in the NBA as soon as my ACL is cleared too. But you can dream.
Hey, Ben Simmons apparently is in good health form. He's apparently feeling the best he's ever felt in a long time. I'm just saying.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But um, I feel like another signing. It's not really a big one, but it's going to transition to my next point. Is the Knicks sign
I'm
another
sorry. Sorry,
Villanova
your Knicks.
Wildcat return?
You mean like the Villanova Knicks, right? Not the New York Knicks.
Well, yeah, I think they're the Villanova Knicks now. I think they're gonna have to start playing. Forget Madison Square Garden, leave it to the Rangers. I think they're gonna have to start playing at the Pavilion in Pennsylvania. But because they signed another Villanova Wildcat, returning back to the Knicks is Ryan Arcidiacono. So it took me some time, Jeremy, because I'm a writer. I'm not a math guy. But with Arcidiacono, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and the newly signed Dante DiVincenzo, I did the math. 27% of the Knicks roster attended Villanova University.
Wow, that is a stat. Okay, Brian, that's actually pretty good math.
And thank you, thank you. I had
Yeah,
to fact check myself.
yeah.
But it I mean, listen, that Villanova team won or those teammates won a national championship together, but some of those players have two national championships. I think Hart only has one because he left to the NBA. Or yeah, I think it was Hart. But those other guys have two national championships. So it's like I'm happy for them. I think it's they're obviously gonna enjoy it. Like their friends, like Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, would, like jokingly be sick of each other because they were even FIBA World Cup teammates. And like Jalen Brunson took a picture of like Josh Hart eating dinner by himself, and it's like when your date leaves you, and like stuff like that. So like they're all having like a fun time, and now they get to be teammates. It's almost like this fraternity coming back. But the Knicks fan in me just knows that like somehow this is gonna blow up. Like they're not gonna be to the same level they were at Villanova, or just like I think this is just becoming kind of like the NBA players having too much power of just bringing their friends together because I mean, I'm like split about the Dante DiVincenzo signing, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say I was shocked. And at like first initial reaction was like a little disappointed, but like depending on the day, I'm either happy about it or I'm like questioning it. Once the season actually starts and I can see him play, I'll have a more definitive opinion about it. But now, it's almost like they're back to their college days. But instead of Josh Hart being the getting recruited, he's being the recruiter, and he keeps tweeting at Mikal Bridges and is trying to recruit Mikal Bridges to really build back that team. I mean, at that point, it's like call Eric Paschal and see where he's doing. Try to bring back the whole
yeah,
team. I mean, fire Tom Thibodeau and hire Jay Wright at that point too. Like just bring everyone back. But I
yeah,
mean, it's cool, good for them. But as a Knicks fan, like
you got to be
I'm a
concerned.
little worried about it to see how it goes because Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo are kind of like a similar player. As of right now, Josh Hart at 6'4", 216 is our backup power forward. Uh, it's a, it's very concerning to say the least, but
It's a certain game
we'll
plan for sure if they want to go small ball for a little bit, but then of course that gets solved.
yeah, exactly. Like it's easy to figure that out, but I don't know. And then it's like, what do you even trade uh for Mikal Bridges and stuff like that? I mean, and like they've been hanging out together. Mikal Bridges has been like liking stuff on Instagram and Twitter. He was at the New York Liberty game, but I put Brooklyn Net players also go to that too. But
Yeah, he's a Brooklyn
speaking of the
Net,
New York
so
Liberty, did you hear?
what's up?
Yeah, speaking of the New York Liberty though, did you hear Sabrina Ionescu throw shade at the Knicks and the Nets?
What did she say?
So you've seen before how like WNBA players kind of like throw shade at NBA players because it's like they don't want NBA players going to their games because I think it's almost like
A charity thing?
yeah, like that stuff. And
I
like
kind of
I
figured
forgot
that.
who it was, but one WNBA player actually like tweeted at Mikal Bridges saying like stop coming to my games. Like yeah, I don't want you. Whatever.
Well, I
But
mean, what can they do? They're trying to support a dying organization.
exactly. It's
It also
I mean, I don't want
some
to go into it
players.
too much, but I just feel like it's more of a you can never win type of thing.
Yeah, like there's no era in the entire world unless we lived in like a parallel universe with a WNBA. This is not sexist, by the way. I just facts. Where the WNBA is more entertaining than the NBA. It will never be as entertaining. It will never even come close to being a quarter, a third. I'm sorry, it's just the way things are, and
Yeah, I mean, even women, like even their own kind, support the NBA more than the WNBA. So it's like, in that aspect too, how are you supposed to win? But basically, the comments Sabrina Ionescu made, I think they were playing the Washington Mystics, I want to say, and they won that game. And then Sabrina Ionescu in a press conference was like, "Oh, I'm happy for this team. I'm happy for the city because it's the best basketball that's been played in New York City in a long time." And I'm like, not really, because let's see. The Brooklyn Nets were in the playoffs a few years. Granted, those Kevin Durant led teams, they should have been in the finals or conference finals. They weren't, but they were still in the playoffs. The Knicks, sure, they haven't had the best history, but they got to the second round of the playoffs. And I don't want to be like sexist here. I mean, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just calling the facts. Even if the New York Liberty win, I don't know what their finals is called, so I'm just going to say the championship. If they win the WNBA championship, are that many people even going to care? Like, is it going to get talked about? That's kind of just where I'm at. I mean, maybe she's hoping to get that message of, oh, like, shit talking the Nets and the Knicks. Like, she's looking to draw attention to the NBA. I mean, look, it worked. I'm talking about it right now on our pod.
yeah,
So
I never thought we'd
I
really
guess if it's a
bring up the.
marketing strategy, it worked for her.
I
But
never really thought we'd bring up the WNBA unless it's like in line with the NBA. With the whole KPJ issue, which we might get into a little bit for a final closing segment. But I mean, if you're talking about technical standpoint, where they did win, and the Knicks and Nets haven't in a while, then she's kind of right. When it comes to audience viewership, market shares, budgeting, TV spots, definitely not. But from a technical standpoint, they went farther, and the Knicks haven't been as far as they have been since since the '90s. So
well, the thing is like, it's not even like they went far. Like they're playing. I'm looking at it right now. They're up by 7 right now, 38 seconds left in the first half. But that was just like the first game in the first round, and she made that comment. Like, What happens if Washington comes back and wins the series and they get eliminated in the first
Then
round
yeah,
and they
then
only won one game?
her comment ages like like milk. So
Yeah, like fine wine. Like the Knicks were
not
in
fine
the
wine,
playoff. The Knicks,
milk.
my bad, my bad. The Knicks went to the second round, and then and whatever. The Nets have been to the first and second round in the last few years. Like, listen, if you said this, uh, 2015, 2013, then some. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu was in like middle school or high school at that time. But if the comments were made then, I guess even though like you said, like the money and attendance and all that would still obviously not be true. But I guess in looking at pure basketball point, sure that would be true because the Brooklyn Nets were awful. The New York Knicks were even worse than awful. So I guess in that regard, if the New York Liberty are the only New York basketball team in the playoffs, then sure that'd be right. But like as of right now, the Knicks have went farther, and like there's also
We'll see what happens.
30 NBA teams, and like how many WNBA teams are there? Like
I honestly don't.
I don't even know.
I don't
8,
know.
6,
The
12.
last team
not
that was the Houston doesn't even have a WNBA team. They used to. It was the Houston
12.
Comets.
Okay, I was right the first time.
It was the Houston Comets. So like yeah, there's not very many teams in the WNBA, but again, we're just calling a spade a spade. Yeah. Oh, by the way, didn't like a WNBA player win like sixth man of the year for scoring 6.7 points a game?
Maybe.
I think I saw that on a tweet. Like it was a WNBA player won sixth man of the year because she scored 6.7 points per game in a season.
I don't know.
Like that's
as far as
oof.
WNBA and NBA, I just hear the beef WNBA players have with NBA players, and then Brittany Griner right before she got drafted in first overall in the WNBA to I think the Connecticut Sun. She said that she actually did have two NBA offers from both the Mavericks and the Jazz, but then she was saying she could beat DeMarcus Cousins one-on-one.
I would not actually be surprised. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins is coming off like ACL tear, Achilles tear.
Oh no, this was like 2015, 2014.
Oh, then no. DeMarcus Cousins would definitely beat him one. Yeah, yeah, no.
It was prime.
Prime Boogie, no. Prime Boogie would mop the floor. Absolutely mop the floor.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do a closing segment with my Houston Rockets and what they've been doing?
Sure, go for it.
So, of course, we don't want to dig deep into it, but of course, Kevin Porter Jr. assaulted a WNBA player, his girlfriend, I believe, by the name of Kisri Gondrezic. Yeah, I can't pronounce the last name. Yeah. So there was allegedly, yeah. There is more news about that, like the fact that KPJ is urging like the news media that to like not the news media, urging like New York City to like drop the charges because he didn't actually break her neck. But regardless of that, he's already on the trade block right now. The Houston Rockets are already settling it. They're like, we're not going to have him on the team anymore. We are trading him. He is not going to be in a Houston Rockets uniform for the time being, going forward. I kind of see this as a benefit because there were several occasions throughout him in a Rockets uniform where he did have a lot of emotional breakdowns, especially towards assistant coach John Lucas. I think there were a couple of games where he would just literally left the Rockets locker room and the court after halftime and was suspended for the next game because he didn't want to play for the second half against the Nuggets because they were like losing by 20. And of course, like his temper tantrum about his locker issue when he was on the Cavs. So to me, I think this is kind of a benefit because, of course, we don't want to have that sort of culture in the Houston Rockets locker room or or on the team. One and two, you've got Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, two key draft selections who are going to have a lot more minutes than they initially had if KPJ was still on the roster. Plus, you've got Josh Christopher, who's on the Grizzlies now, gives more leeway to those new draft signings. And I feel like it's going to really change the Houston Rockets culture in a big way. Brian, you got anything about this?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Your first half of that pretty much just like proved what I'm about to say. Like my whole opinion on it is just he shouldn't be in the NBA. Like I don't think the Rockets will find a trade partner for him because for every reason you said why you don't want him on the Rockets and why he shouldn't be on the Rockets is why he shouldn't be on any team. What team would want that type of culture? What team would want that type of attitude issues? What team would even want to give up assets for that, let alone already pay his
The
salary?
Charlotte
It's
Hornets.
just a bad, just a. Well, I guess after taking Brandon Miller
and Miles Bridges.
but and Miles Bridges, but like in all seriousness, even though that's sadly true, um, like I just don't understand or could rationale because there's obviously this whole situation going on with his girlfriend. Then there's the breakdowns, the suspensions, and the altercations. Uh, and then I saw when the stuff with his girlfriend was coming out that there was even one time where he was at like a bar or a club or something, and he got into it with a DJ, and it just takes the DJ's laptop and like breaks it and slams it to the ground. Like you literally have to go out of your way to like piss off or like start a fight with a DJ because they don't talk. Their job is to just they have headphones on. Their job is just to play music and then take song requests from girls because they're usually the ones that request songs in the first place. So like you'd really have to go out of your way to start a fight with a DJ. So like and I'm not like the biggest like I don't follow the Rockets and like watch all 82 games of the season or when he was on Cleveland watch all their games. But like I think I'm knowledgeable enough about basketball to know that like because he's not a rookie either. Like this, is not
No,
just like it all happened his first year.
he's
Like he's been in the league for a few
4 years
years.
now.
He had to have been like sane at some point. I don't know if like maybe he needs help,
Maybe.
and the Rockets should try to get that for him. Obviously Houston's a big city. I'm sure there's good and easy ways easily accessible ways to get him help. Maybe it's that. Who knows if he'll even take it? But I find it kind of funny that they have him on the trade block, thinking that there will be value for him. Because I'll be very listen. Unless this thing with his girlfriend is alleged and it didn't happen, but I personally disagree. She had a fractured vertebrae. He even like agreed that like he didn't stop until she left the hallway bleeding. So like and all this stuff with the DJ, his altercations with an assistant coach, and like his temper tantrums, all that just lines up for it to be definitely true. I don't, and he's not like he's good enough where he's like a star player where like they'll look to forgive him. The NBA, it's a very easily replaceable league, so I just think that I don't see him playing another NBA game again unless
Yeah.
he either A gets the help or two, this rumor is false. But I don't think that's true. I think it happened.
He's only 23, so I mean, if he wants to get help, it's hard to see if he can sort of combat his frustration and impulsive anger issues. Yeah, there's definitely enough time. He's a good player. He's not terrible. He's not like a cancer to a team on the court, rather. Either off the court, yes. Locker rooms, yes. He does have a knack for being pretty hostile. But, I mean, he had a 50-point game with the Rockets a season and a half ago. He was going to be a really good sixth man if he was on this team. He averaged at least 17 plus points per game. I think he was. He also had 17, 6, and 6 with assists and rebounds. Decent shooting. I mean, he's a. I wouldn't say he's really good. I would say he's a very capable player with some decent upside because he's so young still. So I don't think he's gonna be out of the NBA, I think he's still got time to sort of just like turn his life around. He's not like 30 anymore right now. He's 23. So again, like I said before, he's got time. It's just I just don't want that type of culture with the Houston Rockets. I'd rather have players who are good role models, take the game seriously, don't ruin their careers. I mean, he should probably follow what Jalen Green and Josh Christopher did. Just kind of just be dudes, just kind of be a little gay and but be good at basketball. So, not be angry. if you've seen those videos, so just he sort of followed Jalen Green's textbook, or playbook. Also, maybe he needs to be kind of. Maybe he was angry for the DJ. Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna do. I might cut that part. But maybe
you missed the other thing he said too.
I said some like out of pocket shit earlier when you were taking the groceries out, but I might cut that too.
Yeah, that should be cut.
Yeah, that should definitely be cut. We're not going to mention it. But maybe, maybe he was pissed off at the DJ because his girlfriend requested Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. I mean, I don't know. It's just, maybe he just hates that kind of shit, hates that song, and got pissed off because his girlfriend wanted to play that song and the DJ let the song play. So, maybe he wanted 21 Savage or something, or maybe he wanted, Drake's because he was, in his feelings or something. But jokes aside, we don't really want that culture here. He needs to be around veteran players. So maybe he might be out of the league for a year and try to get back the following season, or maybe some teams might take a chance on him and see if they can fix him. So. All right, I think we can kind of close out. Brian, you cool?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
All right, awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to Cut the Nets episode 34. I know long hiatus, but we are back after a few weeks. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and leave your comments down below on your least favorite NBA analysts. We would like to hear them because there's a bunch, and of course, I would love to. Maybe some Will Kane. Maybe somebody hates Will Kane so much, or something like that. Or maybe somebody hates Jalen Rose or Jay Williams, or But anyways, we hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Thanks for tuning in. This is Cut the Nets signing out. Brian, thank you for being a co-host. Meyer, thanks for producing. And we'll see y'all next time.